Hi there. This is Jean Roman with For Dragonflies and Me. Thanks so much for joining me at this week's podcast. As always, I'm super excited to be here sharing gardening, cooking, organizational tips and tricks, having discussions on healthy lifestyles, and of course, chatting it up with incredible entrepreneurs. Well, today's guest and I met online where we were both participating in the Ultimate Blog Challenge. I had the opportunity to visit her website and immediately knew she would be a wonderful contributor to this podcast. So I reached out to her and asked if she'd be interested in chatting about being a guest, and graciously she did accept. And so we chatted on the phone for a bit to get a feel for the direction we'd take the podcast, and in short order, we had it. So I am super excited to introduce you to this remarkable warrior woman. She has quite a story to share with all of you, including her battle with cancer and how she conquered it. She is here today to let you all know you can take a stumbling block and turn it into a stepping stone. And boy, did she ever. Based out of New Jersey, today's guest is a national board certified health and wellness coach and a plant-based nutrition certificate program graduate. Please help me welcome today's guest, Karen Sammer, board certified health and wellness coach and owner of Your Power, Your Health, Nutrition and Health Coaching. I'm really excited to talk to you today, Karen, about female entrepreneurship, how you left corporate America and a successful career, I might add, and how you turned a tragedy into an incredible business today. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Jean. I'm really happy to be here.
Well, I am too. I'm glad for many reasons that you're here, but I feel really privileged that you took time out of your day and that you're willing to share your story and your knowledge with all of my wonderful listeners. I have a lot of entrepreneur friends, and I have a lot of people that, have a foot on both sides of the fence, working that day job still, dreaming of leaving their day job and just focusing on your business, and you did it. So, would you tell my listeners a bit about yourself and how you started your business?
Sure. So I, back in 2009, I went for my annual mammogram and got the kind of startling news that I had to go for a follow-up to get a biopsy because there was something that looked a little sinister in the mammogram that they found.
Mm-hmm.
So I went for the biopsy, and the surgeon gave me a choice. I could either watch for 6 months because there was something suspicious there, watch it for 6 months, come back later and get another biopsy, or have it taken out and have the pathology done on it and find out what was going on. Well, I'm not one to wait. I'm not one to wait. So I absolutely said, you got to do it now. So this happened. So Christmas Eve is when I found out that it was malignant after they did the biopsy. They found out it was malignant, but not only was it malignant, it's also very aggressive. So I scheduled the surgery, and everything was taken out, and then I had to go through the treatment. But what my surgeon said to me is, you saved your own life. And it really kind of like knocked my socks off, because had I waited 6 months, my story might have been much different.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was really it was just really an eye-opener. So at the time I was working in this corporate job. I was director of federal and state compliance in the global tax department. And it was quite a stressful job. I had a large staff. I had a lot of balls in the air. There's a lot going on. It was year end. So that was a particularly stressful time. And I was overweight, very overweight. I was eating too much. I was eating the wrong things. I would work late at night and then come home and eat a big dinner and go to sleep. And I couldn't sleep well. So I would drink several glasses of wine. And it was just this cycle that I was in. I wasn't exercising. I was under a lot of stress. I was raising 2 teenage girls. So all of the things that contribute to a very, shall we say, busy life.
Yeah, kind of, just a little, eh?
was going on there for me. So I got this news. It really wasn't surprising to me, because I do feel like and I'm not suggesting that everybody else has the same issue, but I felt like I was complicit in my disease because of the way I was treating my body, the way I was living my life, what was going on. It wasn't surprising to me that I was diagnosed with something like this.
Okay.
but it was a wake up call. It was for sure a wake up call. So I went through the treatment, and it was awful. I had to go through. I had a surgery. So I had a lumpectomy, take the tumor out. Then I also had to have chemo and radiation. And part of my treatment, my chemo treatment, because of the type of tumor it was, I had to have infusions for a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was under treatment for a year, but in the process of that, and feeling really crummy, I did some research to find out what I could do to reduce my risk of recurrence, because this particular type of tumor has a high incidence of recurrence, except for this drug that I had to take for a year. That brought down the risk a little bit, but still,
Okay.
breast cancer can recur, and it can come back in your brain. Actually, it can come back in a
Oh,
number of different places.
my goodness.
Yeah, and I was not interested in that, as you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So I did some research, and what I found is that cancer loves sugar. And the first thing I did is I removed sugar from my diet, processed sugar from my diet. And
Okay.
that to me was a complete game changer, because what that did for me is it eliminated cravings. It made it so that I could control what I ate instead of what I eat controlling me.
Oh,
I
sorry about that, Karen. I got my little Frank, man. All of my listeners know about Frankie. Frankie, come here. Oh
oh,
my gosh. Oh,
Frankie
anyway.
wants to contribute to the
Yeah,
conversation.
he usually does. Every now and then in one of my podcasts, Frank chimes in. So I
Oh,
do
hello, Frank.
apologize, listeners. They all know Frankie, but Karen, I apologize. Please carry on.
No worries. So I eliminated the sugar from my diet. I got rid of all of my cravings, all of my aches and pains, all of my joint pain and body pain went away, and my energy came back, and somewhat. I mean, I was still going through treatment,
Yeah.
but it changed the way I felt in my body. I lost 135 pounds, and because I changed other things in my diet as well. But the first thing I did was eliminate the processed sugar, because it was so important to me not for my children to have me to raise them for the
For
rest of their lives,
sure. And that's a big deal. I mean,
Yeah.
taking out sugar in your diet, that is no small feat. Um,
No.
you think really about just the majority of food we intake, and it's got some level of sugar in it.
If it's processed, it almost always has sugar in it.
Yeah,
Because sugar is
exactly.
used for a couple different things. Yeah, it's used for flavor, it's used for preservative, it's used for mouthfeel, it's used for making it addictive, which is a whole other conversation. But it is very present in our standard food system. But when you take it out, if you watch what you eat, if you have to be a real label detective. And if you're able to do that, if you're able to understand how sugar is represented on the label, because it's not always that clear, and how and what to do instead of eating the stuff that you would typically eat, it is completely revolutionary in your life. And so that's what I did. I lost the weight, as I said, and I just got my life back. But in the process of doing that, I decided, it was really interesting to me. And if you had told me this, 20 years prior, I probably would have thought you were crazy. But it became very fascinating to me how food affects our life and affects our everything, affects our well-being, our state of mind, all of the things.
Yeah, I agree. I've been on some crazy diets in my lifetime, and I got down to a size 6. I've always been kind of anywhere between a 10 and a 14. That's what I think my normal is. I mean, I have to really, really work at being, anything else. I feel comfortable at about a 12. And
Yeah.
it is amazing though when you stop and you just take notice of the food you're intaking. And sometimes I think people just eat. And, when you're talking about food can take on so many different, forms in a person's life. For me, when I'm stressed out, I don't eat. Where I know some people, they stress out, or, when I always joke around about myself, oh yeah, you can tell when I'm happy, I'm fat, and I mean, I say that very facetiously. But kind of is true. But yeah, but I totally get what you're saying with that. But please go on.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but what I decided that I wanted to do is I wanted to help other people do the same thing, because I felt it just completely changed my life. And I wanted to be able to give other people the hope that I found, because I was, one of these people who was since I was probably 18 years old, I was up and down all over the scale.
Okay.
And I would lose a lot of weight, then I'd gain it all back, and I'd lose some more, and I'd gain
Yep.
it all back. You'd always gain back more than you lost. At least I did anyway.
Oh, me too.
And that happens.
100%.
Yeah, that happens very often. But I ended up losing the weight and going to school to become a holistic health coach. And that was another thing that just really, I mean, that to me, that opened up an area that I never knew existed. And it
Oh,
also really spoke to me. It was
okay.
something that spoke to me unlike any other aspect of my career ever did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you went from corporate America, you know, dealing with Uncle Sam every day to where you're thinking about your body and what you're taking in. Um, you know, most of my followers know I was a organic farmer for 15 years. And so my kids were raised on raw milk. And you know, we
Yes.
raised our meat, and if we didn't raise it, we knew the farmer that raised it. And
Yeah.
I still purchase my meat from farmers that I know and how they raise their meat. And I still actually sell meat to my customers that I was with, you know, at the farmers markets that I used to do for many moons ago. But holistic healing was always something that, you know, was in my radar, I guess to say. But I also
Yeah.
know, you know, sometimes it takes a shock to the system to get you into where you need to be, you know?
Yes, yes, it does. Yeah, I mean, those messages come to us all the time, but sometimes we're not listening until it gets really loud and you
Yeah.
can't avoid it.
Well,
And that,
don't let me make it sound like I always hear it, because there's been many times where I don't listen either.
yeah, well, I think that's human nature, right? We
It
get so
is.
busy caught up in our lives, we don't listen to our inner wisdom.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
if you listen to your inner wisdom, you really can be pretty smart. But sometimes we're not so smart.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people. I still, I still don't always listen, and then I regret it because then I'm aware of it after the fact, and I regret it. But we're human beings. We're not perfection, and
No, we're not.
so
And so
and it's
that
important.
moved you into your business.
Yes. Yes. So then I started practicing, once I went to school, graduated, and then I started practicing my health coaching. And I did that for quite some time while I was still working in corporate. And then finally in 2017, I had a heart attack that came
Oh my
completely out of the blue.
goodness.
Yeah. Now my guess is that the medication that that I was on for the year does have a very it has an impact on your cardiovascular system. They had to monitor my heart the entire time I was on that. So
Mm,
it does not surprise me, or it would never surprise me to find out that this drug is probably what impacted my heart
hmm.
and gave me the heart attack. Because have, I had a spontaneous coronary artery dissection.
Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, it's not something that you can prevent. It's not something that you can prepare for because it just comes out of the blue. It's an artery that dissects. It kind of split. Now,
My.
fortunately for me, it wasn't major. It was because there are women who go through this because it happens mostly to women. But
Okay.
there are women who have gone through this particular type of heart attack that are debilitated by it. And I was very fortunate that that was not my story.
Well, you have a mission, obviously, and you know, the universe is definitely guiding you to help people and to tell your story. And, you know, again, Karen, I just feel really fortunate that you're here to tell your story to me and my listeners. And I'm excited to hear, you know, how your business grew. So please carry on.
Yeah,
I keep
yeah, sure.
interrupting
I'm
you.
so yeah, and I could talk about this all day, as you can tell.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
But yeah, but so in 2017 that happened, and about 6 months later, I retired from my corporate job.
okay.
And so I was able to do my coaching full time, which is really what I wanted to do anyway. I was really, and the more into the coaching I got, the more kind of disinterested I became in the corporate life.
Hmm.
And it's really, you know what's important when your life has been challenged. And my life was challenged twice, in a
Yeah.
pretty big way. So I got the message. And so this is what I do now. I work with women primarily. I do work with men very successfully, but I mostly work with women who are living with or at risk for developing chronic illness that we can manage through lifestyle and nutrition. And because your body's only job on this planet is to stay alive. That's
Hmm.
its only job. And given the right tools, it will do that. And given one of the tools that you give it is healthy food, the right type of food that's going to support your body. You manage your stress, you get enough sleep, you drink enough water, You stay away from the things that are going to cause you problems, like too much alcohol. Actually, any alcohol is too much as far as I'm concerned, but that's a different story.
That's okay.
But just give your body the right tools that it needs to do its job, and it will do its job quite nicely. And unfortunately, our standard American diet does not support that type of approach. You really have to work at it yourself because
Oh,
the
I
standard
agree.
diet
And
puts
I
it very.
think, big pharma and big ag, I've always said they walk around with their hands in each other's pockets.
No, for
Uh,
sure.
you know,
Very
uh,
incestuous relationship.
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And, I think you and I could probably get into a whole lot more conversation,
We
but um,
we
you
might
know,
get in trouble.
yeah, maybe a little. But I always feel it's like, especially for cancer. My grandmother got breast cancer for the first time when I was in eighth grade, and then she died December 18th when I was 18. I'm now 53, and I will always remember that day. And she battled it for a long time. And I have so many friends. My best friend's dad is very sick right now, and he's in hospice. And everybody we know knows somebody that either has had cancer or died from cancer.
Sure.
And I do not believe under any circumstances anybody really wants to find a cure because there's too much money in people being sick.
Oh, there's no question. There's no question. The best thing that can happen to big pharma and the entire economy, I think, is to make it a chronic illness that can be treated for many years.
Yep.
Because
Yeah,
that way you are dependent on the drug,
exactly.
and you just keep taking it. These illnesses that kill people, if they can be relegated to chronic illness versus death sentence,
Hmm.
I think the lucrative, they're much more lucrative to the
Exactly. Yeah. Well, we think alike on that. So good.
yeah,
And I'm sure many of the listeners are probably shaking their head.
yeah,
But yeah.
yeah.
But well, that is very, very interesting. And I love what you do. You also mentioned during this podcast and in our previous conversation, you had a very successful career as the director of federal audits for the big pharma company, retired again, and then you're in your second career, shall we call it.
Yes.
You also mentioned your journey. Share with my audience a bit about that and where you are now with your business. It's, we understand where, how you got there. What are you doing now? Tell us a little bit more in detail about your job.
Sure. So, like I said, when I work with women primarily, but I also go out and speak about women in heart health and women in other, women's health issues. And I'm always looking for opportunities to be out in front of a group that wants to hear about different aspects of women's health. And so I talk, I present on that quite frequently. But I'm also a Women Heart Champion community educator. So I do volunteer work for an organization called Women Heart, and Women Heart supports women who are living with heart disease. And
Okay.
it's only, it's all about women because women's experience with heart disease is much different than men's.
Yeah.
And that's a topic for a different day. But we experience things differently. We're treated differently when we show up with symptoms that could be attributed to something else,
Hmm.
but are actually cardiac symptoms. And if we don't know what's going on in our own body, we're sometimes our own worst enemy. So
Hmm.
it's really important that we learn to advocate for ourselves, learn what the symptoms are, and these are the things, and learn how to prevent them. There 80% of heart disease is preventable through lifestyle
Hmm.
modification.
Yeah. And a lot of it is diet and exercise.
Absolutely, and stress. Yeah, stress is a huge contributor to all kinds of disease, and because inflammation in your body, and when inflammation is present, then all kinds of disease states can occur.
Hmm. Yeah. Stress. Oh my gosh, I resigned from my day job back in December and I loved my boss. I loved my job, but there were some aspects of it that were more stressful than I felt needed to be. And I just decided, I'm going to take the leap and I'm just going to go full on with
Yeah.
my business, which is what I'm doing. And this, I was taking heartburn medicine and popping Tums, eating Tums like
Mm.
crazy every day. And literally, Karen, the day I resigned and I gave my 2 weeks, my last day, I have not had heartburn once, and that was December 1st.
That is really good feedback from your body. That is
Yeah,
really good
yeah,
feedback. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So good for you for making that decision and taking the leap. It's really, it's so important to pay attention to what's to
Yeah.
what's in your body.
And a lot of times, like you said, our bodies do give us signals and it does tell us. And it's that, that inner wisdom, like you said, and that intuition that we need to listen to it. But tell me a little bit more about this, your speaking, like get a little bit more into that. I'm excited about that because I do some speaking as well. And I'm always interested to hear what other people are talking about.
So I'm always looking for, like I said, women's groups of women, or even, it doesn't even have to be women. It's people who know women, and that's everybody, right? And talking about women's heart situations, and giving some pretty startling information about that, because a lot of times we don't, a lot of women don't even know that these facts are in fact facts.
Mhm.
And but like I said, other women's health issues that are I get in front of women's groups, I get in front of conferences. I'll speak anywhere who wants to hear, libraries, anywhere that I can do a presentation. There are many groups that I belong to that I'm often being asked to speak at.
Okay.
And go
All
ahead.
right. Well,
Yeah.
that is fascinating. And that kind of leads into the next question. Another topic we discussed was the organization BIG, which is an acronym for Believe, Inspire, and Grow. And you were telling me a little bit about your affiliation with it. I was super excited to learn more about it, especially when you mentioned its focus was on women collaborating together and how it guides women to build that sisterhood of resources and networking. Can you share a bit more about this organization and how you are involved with it?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a member. I'm not an officer or anything, but I'm a member of this group. And I found it during COVID. I really kind of focused on my networking opportunities, because what else could you do? You couldn't go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing a lot of online networking, and a friend of mine introduced me to this organization, and it is run by a group of very powerful women who are who's who are interested in women working together and supporting each other and building each other up, because for in my mind, women should be collaborative and not competitive.
Absolutely.
Like, actually everybody should be collaborative and not competitive, but it's whatever. It's it's not it is not usually supported in like corporate environments. But these are, most of these women are entrepreneurs, maybe small business owners, and we find ways to either work together or support each other, refer each other. And it's a very nurturing, supportive environment in these meetings. And so there are meetings all over the place in this for this organization, all over the country, and I think outside of the country, in some other, not too many other countries, but certainly I would say Canada, probably, and I think Germany, and maybe a couple other places. But um, that some are virtual, some are in person, some are hybrid, and it's a really good opportunity for women to see what it feels like to be supported, and not and being in a very positive environment full of other women.
Yeah, and I think when you and I chatted for the first time, we talked a little bit about that, and especially about women in corporate America. And unfortunately, in years past, hopefully not as much anymore, but women, were not supportive of each other, and it was more of a competition and climbing above each other. And I loved that you and I both felt, and so many of my other female entrepreneurial or business owner friends, we are happy when we have success. We encourage one another. We team up and root for them. We're each other's biggest cheerleaders. And I agree with what you're saying. It's like that's the way we need to be. And is these younger generations come into the business world. I think I told you I have attended a couple of these lead hership conferences, and we have another one March 1st coming up. And it is just a really small group. It's the organization Access puts it together, and they do free coaching, free. They do micro loans and micro grants, and it's all about women, female owned businesses and helping them grow. And I think as we try to mentor other young women and change that philosophy, change that mindset of it's me against you, but rather it's us working together.
Yeah.
I see a better future for other female business owners.
I agree. And, there really is no such thing as competition if you really, because nobody does what you do the way you do it.
Mhm.
Even if you have somebody who does the exact same thing, they still have their own spin on it.
Yep.
And, because there are many health coaches around, but nobody does health coaching the way I do it.
Right.
Nobody takes the same approach. Nobody has the same experience that I have. And that's with anything. And so I feel like I could work very well with other health coaches because we all have our own different areas of expertise. We
Yep.
have our own different areas, like I said, different ways in, because I'm not going to resonate with everybody and neither is anybody else. It's, you find your way in with the clients that are meant to be yours.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
there's,
Yeah, because you click with certain people, you
yeah,
know, and
sure.
and especially, like, when people have a similar backstory as that health coach, as you or whoever, it's like you resonate, like you said, and then you build a relationship through connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So to the extent that you can work in conjunction with somebody, I think it makes the world a better place. And so I think Big really does strive to encourage collaboration or just referral, referring each other and just being supportive of each other and brainstorming sometimes. There are ideas that can be passed around. There are a number of different Big is just one of the organizations that I belong to, but there are a number of different other organizations, but I really try to look for women supporting women
Mhm.
places to hang out because I think that it just lifts everybody.
Yeah, well, I'm super excited to look more into it and get involved. It's all about the networking and supporting each other. Mentorship, like I said, is such a valuable tool and can be exactly what a new entrepreneur needs. And
Yeah.
having that person that has some experience, and no, you're not the only one going through this. But with
Yeah.
that being said, Karen, tell my listeners what it is. A little bit more detail about what you do and what specific services Your Power Your Health offers.
Absolutely. So, actually, right now, I'm in the middle of my annual Kick Sugar to the Curb program, which is a
Okay.
5-week program I offer in January for people to kind of detox from sugar. I know detox is a little bit of a trigger word for some people, but really to get the sugar out of your system that probably was a little bit too abundant in the holidays. And so I'm about uh, 60% through that program now. Like I said, it's a 5-week program. We just had week 3 last night.
Okay.
And so it doesn't come around again until next year. But also, on a more regular basis, I have a couple of different programs that I offer. I have a group coaching program for women. It's for women only, so we can talk freely about whatever it is we want to talk about that we are not comfortable talking about in front of men, and men are not comfortable hearing. So
Mhm.
it's really a free for all. Anybody can bring anything to the meeting that they need to just vet or get some feedback on, and it's a very interactive group. People typically commit for 3 months, and if they want to continue on after 3 months, they can renew their membership. And it really is a wonderful experience for everybody involved. But I also have one-to-one coaching that I do, and that is based on a very first of all, it's very tailored to the individual client, so
That's
it's really
nice.
whatever they need. But it's based on my 5-pronged approach to losing weight and getting your health in order, managing your weight, or managing your health so that you do not have to go take medication that is considered like what I consider lifestyle medication. You
Mhm.
can avoid taking cholesterol meds or blood pressure meds or diabetes meds, anything that by altering a few things in your lifestyle and your nutrition, you can get yourself back in a place where those numbers are healthy.
Yeah.
And so my 5-pronged approach is we work on mindset because usually by the time my clients get to me, they've tried what they think is everything and they're feeling pretty hopeless. And
Yeah.
and that's not, like, yeah, so we have to reel them back in and make sure that their mindset is good and rock solid. We do nutrition because that's really very important, and a lot of people don't really know what good nutrition is.
Mhm.
We do lifestyle, which includes stress management, sleep hygiene, exercise, all of the things, managing saboteurs in your life when you're trying to do something healthy for yourself. We talk about emotional health because it is not to be understated that when you are really heavy, and I can tell you from my own experience, when you're really heavy and you lose a lot of weight, it's like taking off a very heavy winter coat.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden you feel kind of exposed. You feel exposed and it's not always comfortable. So it's really about managing that emotional component of of weight. And also, you know, when you're overweight, really overweight, you're feeling very, very self-conscious. Your emotional health isn't all that steady. So really supporting people emotionally, unconditionally, that's really an important component of being able to sustain a healthy lifestyle. And then finally, self-care, because as women, we are notoriously not very good at being at caring for ourselves. We take care of everybody else, especially if
Hmm.
you're a parent.
Oh
You
yeah.
take care of everybody else in the world, and you put yourself at the bottom of the list, and you can't pour from an empty cup.
No, you
So
can't.
no, and if you're depleted, you can't take care of other people effectively. So really, it's about putting your own oxygen mask on first, as they always say, and before you take care of everybody else. Because and it doesn't self care does not have to be all time consuming because we're all very busy. It's just
No.
little things a day, and it's
Yeah,
really
even positive self-talk, having that mantra. I've talked to several different people about that. A positive mindset and a healthy self-esteem is part of healthy self-talk, because people
yeah.
often will, oh, I'm no good at that, or I couldn't do that. No, look at yourself in the mirror every day and say, I'm gonna do that. I can do whatever I put my mind to. And it all goes, it's full circle.
Absolutely. They're all connected. Everything, all aspects of that are connected because, you know, if you, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right, as per Henry Ford.
Hmm.
And it's true. You
Hmm.
know, you can think you're going to conquer the world, or you think the world is going to conquer you. But whatever way you think, you're going to find evidence of both of those. You're going to
Yeah.
find evidence, you know, because your filtering system, your reticular activating system is going to find evidence of whatever it is that you believe.
Absolutely. So Karen, you're located in New Jersey and I'm here in Michigan, so we're both kind of cold.
Yes.
However, I have listeners and I'm sure you have readers and followers all over the country and actually all over the globe.
Mhm.
Tell my listeners what areas, obviously the New Jersey area, you're going to do more in person, but what online options do you have for people that would be interested in your services that aren't close by you?
So I do most of my work virtually. Actually, I most of my coaching is done on Zoom or on the phone, depending on the circumstances that you know under which we are working.
Right.
But
Nice.
as long as they speak English, I can work with them because I don't really speak any other language. So if you speak English and you are willing to do the work, because I can't do it for you, all I can do is guide you. I would love to have a conversation because if you're motivated to stay off of medications that have not been prescribed yet, or you're interested in reducing the dosage or even possibly getting off of medication by changing lifestyle and nutrition, then I'm your person. I can help you with that. I've
Well,
been able to do it for myself for many years.
Well, Karen, the fact that you lost 135 pounds is a testimony to that right away. But you mentioned that you would like to offer my listeners a complimentary strategy call. Would you like to expound on this a little bit for them?
Absolutely. So it's a real coaching call, and you get to find out how I work. I give you some really good action steps to take, so that when you leave the call, you can start getting yourself on the right path. And if you feel like you want to work with me after we have the conversation, we'll talk about that. If it's not something that you're interested in, that's fine. You'll still have some good action steps. You won't walk away empty handed. That's for sure.
Well, that's
And so,
awesome. That's very generous as well.
well, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's important. It's important. My mission in life is to get this planet healthy one person at a
Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to quote you on that.
time.
I'm going to write that down and put that on the blog as my quote. I always put a quote in my blog, and I always do a blog for the podcast. But I cannot tell you how happy I am that we were able to connect. And, I don't believe in coincidence. I believe everything happens for a reason. And I know that you and I stumbled upon each other in the Ultimate Blog Challenge so that you could do this podcast, because I believe there is somebody out there listening to this today or another day or sometime in the future. They're going to hear it and it's going to be exactly what they need. Again, I don't believe in coincidence, but I just want to tell everybody thank you for being here. I will have Karen, maybe will there be like a code that my listeners can tell you that they got the information for the free complimentary call off of my blog or my website?
So so if they just go to yourpoweryourhealth.com/book, they can
Okay.
book the complimentary call.
Okay. And folks, if you missed that, don't worry. I'm going to have all those links and Karen's information and contact information in the blog post, as well as on the podcast and the Facebook event. So it will all be readily available, as well as all her links. And so everybody, thank you so much for being here. This is a great place to start with Karen if you're looking to change your life, if you're looking for that motivation, that accountability partner. And to see more about Your Power, Your Health, again, you can visit my blog at fordragonfliesandme.com. And of course, visit Karen at her website, yourpoweryourhealth.com. Thank you again for joining me here today. Thank you for joining me. And Karen, thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you so much, Steve, for the opportunity to do.
Awesome. Please follow me here and at my blog at fordragonfliesandme.com. And if you haven't visited me on Facebook or Instagram, please like and follow me there for daily inspiration, recipes, and gorgeous photos. Until next time, friends, happy day.